Hi VC, James here. Welcome to another vinyl update. I was inspired to do this by John Downing, 6-inch pianist. John did a great update, I think it was yesterday, and I really enjoyed it. John was talking about this business that keeps cropping up of, when is enough enough? And it was quite funny because John just gave a completely unequivocal answer to that question, and he just said, in answer to the question, do you have too many records? As far as we're concerned on the VC, the answer is always going to be, yes we do. And which I thought was quite funny. And John was also talking about, and this is what gave me the idea to make this video now, how it's good fun to kind of, go out shopping for records rather than always buying stuff online, which I do. It's good fun to go out and about, go to record shops, talk to people, get some recommendations, just do it in a more interactive way. And that got me thinking, I do have a bit of a backlog of records purchased from a market stand. They're called Heightside Records, they're from Yorkshire, and they come to my town kind of maybe perhaps twice a month, and they set up stand, and they're just great. I've got a local guy who comes every week, and his stock is rather overpriced. His records kind of average round about the £10 mark, and they're not always in the best condition. Whereas this other stand, this Heightside stand, their stock always seems to be just really nice, good condition, good prices, and they'll cut you a bargain, which is great. And they're just nice guys to talk to. This is going back to what John was saying. It's kind of just so nice to be able to chat to people as you're, as you're shopping, as you're looking through. So I got a fair big stack. I went and did 2 consecutive weekends, and just found some really nice things. This pile here isn't even all the stuff I found. I've just picked out some of the more interesting stuff to show you today. So the first couple of things I picked up. This is an album which Jeff Party made a video about. This is Townsend, All the Best Cowboys Have Chinese Eyes. When Jeff made that video, I bought the album on CD and I put it onto the iPod. This was at Christmas, I think, and I was really impressed with it. It's not the kind of thing I would have picked up if I hadn't have seen that video, I do like The Who, but it never particularly occurred to me to check out Pete's solo work. But I found that one for a good price, and then I also found, and I haven't listened to this one yet, I also found Empty Glass too, which I believe is another well-respected record from Pete. So I'm looking forward to checking that one out. And then on this, in this little haul that I picked up from Heightside, I found a fair few kind of R&B, soul, funk records, which I thought it would be quite good fun to pick up. So this was one that kind of jumped out at me because I've heard a lot about this band. This is War, but I've never really owned any of their records. I've never had any CDs, I've never had any records, so I didn't know anything about this. Deliver the Word. Now apparently it's meant to come with some kind of nice insert there which peeks through. This copy doesn't have that. It's on the Brown United label. This is a really good album. It's kind of funky, vibey, kind of, Saturday night music, lots of grooves. And some of the drumming on it reminded me of Jackie Leapersit from Can. It's kind of like tribal sort of rolling drums and everything. I was really impressed with it. I've been giving it a fair few spins. War, Deliver the Flood. This is from 1974. So I was really impressed with that. And I'll be trying to find some more War albums. I think Doug mentioned, is it Doug? Somebody mentioned it, I put it on Facebook. I think it was Doug who said that he'd seen a copy of it, or he'd seen various copies of it over the years and had never picked it up. So that seems to be a record which is quite interesting. So there we go. This was another good purchase. This is Taj Mahal's album, Satisfied and Tickled 2, which I believe is his 10th album. Got my usual notes here. Yeah, Taj Mahal, Henry St. Clair Fredericks. This guy was famous for having worked with the Rolling Stones back in the 1960s. He was on their Rock and Roll Circus film, if you've seen that, a kind of vaudeville performance that the Stones filmed. I think John Lennon was involved, Clapton was involved, Taj Mahal was there. He was a blues guy, is a blues guy, but he kind of expanded the blues palette, if you will, kind of brought in Caribbean music and reggae and jazz as well. And this album is really, really diverse. I mean, you put it on, some of it's quite poppy, the jazz element is in there, the kind of Jamaican influence comes through. Yeah, it was a great listen. So let's have a look. Just on the orange CBS. So yeah, I'll be checking out some more Taj Mahal as and when I see it. This was pretty cheap, it was only about £5, so that was a nice pick-up. I picked this one up, Rick James. You have to be careful with Rick James because, in my experience, there are some records out there that have his name on, and then you buy them and then you realise they're not actually him. I'm not sure if it was his record company or if he himself did it, but his name gets put on records that are not really anything to do with him, you know. And but this one is a genuine one. In fact, I believe this is his first album. Let me just consult my notes. Yeah, this is his debut album from 1978. He was christened the King of Punk Funk, apparently. His influences were Marvin Gaye and Smokey Robinson. He launched his career with this album on the Motown Gordy label. Geordie. Really nice label. So yeah, I mean, this is an album of two halves, really. This the side one I really like. It's kind of it's a groover, good Saturday night music, but then it's got a slightly cheesy side to it too, as well. Side two almost becomes kind of a bit boy bandy, but side one is definitely easily good enough for it to be a keeper. This guy had a really interesting life and career. I mean, he kind of went through hell. You know, in the 80s and 90s, he was beset by a string of personal problems. You know, he ended up going to prison for 3 years for kidnap and kind of all sorts of things, you know, drug problems. And he died, I think he died of heart failure in the end. So he sort of led a very hard life, you know. But yeah, this is a great album in places, I would say. It's not a kind of completely consistent listen from my point of view, you know, my own personal tastes, but definitely a keeper. I was really pleased to pick this up. This is an absolute kind of classic of kind of, I suppose you describe it as kind of very early disco, but I mean they predated disco by a long way. This is La Belle and Nightbirds. I didn't realise this album was actually produced by Alan Toussaint in New Orleans, Toussaint's hometown. And it came after a period when they tried to, I think they'd released a few albums and hadn't had much success. They'd been a kind of pop rock act. They dabbled in gospel. Well, they didn't dabble in gospel because I think it was in their roots. But when Alan Toussaint took them into the studio, he was able to kind of refine their sound and bring the funk element strongly to the fore. Let me just consult my notes because there are a couple of interesting things that I wanted to say. Yeah, the first 3 albums that they did flopped. And oh yeah, they opened for The Who and the Rolling Stones in the era prior to this record. So they'd had a bit of a pedigree, but then, like I say, they went into the studio with Alan Toussaint. And the big hit from this band is Lady Marmalade, and it was the only song, or one of the only songs on the album not to be written by Nona Hendrix, who was actually in the band. So, lyric sheet. I mean, you all know that. You all know their famous song, Lady Marmalade. Just a great groover, great Saturday night music. Pour yourself a glass of wine, and off you go. You know, absolutely fantastic. La Belle and Nightbirds. Okay, so what's left are some grails. 3 grails. Just have some water. Late night last night. I was playing a gig here in my hometown, and we didn't finish till about midnight. It was quite interesting. There was a fight in the pub after we finished, but it was nothing to do with our set. I don't think, anyway. I'd shared this with Doug already on Facebook. This is Rastaman Vibration by Bob Marley, in fairly good condition. There's a little bit of ring wear there. Just a nice one to get, you know. I've got 2 Bob Marley or 3 Bob Marley albums already, this being the 4th. I like this. This has got the I've got the album in a clear one, obviously it's on the Blue Island label. Yeah, just a great Bob Marley album. On this album, apparently, all the songs are written by him, but he gave a lot of credit to different people, you know, family and friends, in order to help them out financially. I think that's the story anyway. I'm sure Doug will correct me if I've got that wrong. But yeah, I mean, what more can you say, really? Bob Marley and Rastaman Vibration, just one of the great kind of cornerstone reggae albums, I suppose. This next one, I was really pleased to pick this up because I've seen it in the wild around the place, but it's always either not the best price or not the best condition. This time I found it, good condition, reasonable price. It was £10, which is not bad for a double album, legendary double album. This is Stephen Stills and Manassas. I saw Vinyl Richie show this a while ago, and he talked about the fact that it's a great album, but it's possibly not as consistent as it's made out to be, and I'm inclined to agree. I haven't listened too carefully to the second record yet, but the first record, side 1, is fantastic. It contains this great run of blues and rock and roll stuff, you know, really amazing. Side 2 goes a bit country, and then, like I said, I need to check out the rest, but my first impression was it's an album which kind of starts really well, you know, and then maybe tapers a little bit. And what's annoying about this particular version is that it's one of those double albums where side 1 is on the first side of the first record, and then to listen to side 2 you have to go to the other record and it's side 1 of that record, and then you go back. Really insane. I have no idea why they do that, but that was a great one to pick up, Manassas. I don't know too much about the history of the making of this record. I think it's one that I need to research and maybe do a proper video about, because I don't want to sound like I don't know what I'm talking about, which I don't. But there we go, that was nice to pick up for £10, Stephen Stills and Manassas. And then finally, I was just about to go. I thought I'd finished, and I just thought I'd flick through one last rack, and bingo, I came up with the best of the bunch. The Rolling Stones, Beggar's Banquet. Now this is some kind of reissue. I haven't checked exactly on Discog to see what it is, but it sounds fantastic. I was so pleased to pick this up because it really completes my Stones collection in a way, because I kind of have all the Stones albums that I want. There's a lot that I don't have, but I've kind of got all the classics now. I've got, you know, Aftermath, and now I've got Beggar's Banquet, Let It Bleed, Exile on Main Street, Sticky Fingers, Goat's Head Soup, Some Girls. Now I know some people rate, you know, those albums in the 70s as well, and you know, I may well end up picking them up. Black and Blue is an album that I really like, but this one certainly was the missing one from my collection. You know, one of the Stones' great sort of, you know, acknowledged classics. This was the album they made when I think Keith Richards decided to drill down and get deeper into the roots of the music. The first flush of, you know, success and fame had happened to the Stones. He discovered, I think this was the era where he discovered the open G tuning on the guitar, which Ry Cooder showed him. I'm not sure if my facts are straight there, but as an album it kind of starts to explore some more kind of swampy rural styles, you know, and it's just a great album. This is the original cover, which was originally it was withdrawn, or it was banned, wasn't it, and replaced with just a very plain cover. This is the original toilet cover, which is quite nice to have. So yeah, so there we go, a very successful trip to Heightside Records, and that's not all the stuff I got. There's still a few to show, but I thought I'd leave it there for today. So yeah, just a quick vinyl update for you. I'm trying to do one vinyl update per month at the moment because I do have a backlog. Plus, I enjoy the vinyl update videos because it gives me more of a chance to kind of relax and say hello to people. You know, really big hello to all my new subscribers. Lots of new people commenting I feel like in the last few weeks I've kind of forged new contacts on the VC, and I've started to, you know, correspond with more people, and it seems to be, you know, becoming even more kind of, you know, vibrant. In fact, I drew up a list the other day of channels now that I'm trying to watch with some degree of regularity, you know, and it came to something like 28 channels. That is people who I'm trying to watch everything because they support me and I want to support them back, and also I enjoy their channels anyway. But I mean, it's getting harder and harder to get round, and you know, it's great, but I mean, it can be hard work, as you'll know. So a big thank you to anybody who's watching me, you know, watching my videos, watching my channels, and I'm doing my best to get round and to reciprocate and leave lots of nice comments on everybody's videos. So I hope you enjoyed that update, BC, and I'll see you soon. Bye. Take care. Have a great week.